Time for sex, the podcast. 'Cause sexuality is tough. And okay, sex just isn't good enough. No. Time for sex.
Hey everybody, welcome to Sex the Podcast. Erica Miley here. Today's episode is about sex, gender, and working in the sex industry. I have a wonderful interview with the badass Nenna Joyner. She is the owner of Feelmore Adult Gallery in Oakland, California. Her journey to adult retail business owner is amazing, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Stick through to the end. She provides a peek into what it is like to open a business and not only face that task, but face it with some serious authenticity. I love her tagline. It's more than just sex. So stick through to the very end. You will not be disappointed. So thank you for joining me, everyone, here at the Sex Podcast. My name is Erica Miley, and I have the pleasure of speaking with Nenna Joyner. She is the owner of Feelmore Adult Gallery in Oakland, California. I said that right?
Yep.
So I'm so stoked to talk to you about the journey you've been on to get to where you are to open this adult gallery. The things you offer in this store are incredible. I'm not going to gush too much because I could just keep going. So how did you begin in the sexuality field generally? How did you get here?
I guess we all have sex, so we all start somewhere in there. But I had that idea that rose to the top, basically just, having watched a lot of porn and been in only a few, I would say probably one or two adult stores. I'm from Las Vegas, and so we didn't really have sex stores there or that I knew of, and I never saw that. And so when I got to the Bay Area, my aunt actually kind of talked to me about my body and introduced me to books around sexual identity and also gender identity. And it was the first time that I was able to actually experience myself without shame. And, further on down the line, years later, I came up with an idea to shoot some porn for a company out here in California, where they bought the porn that I created, which was Tight Places, Real Sex in the City. We won some feminist porn awards. But in behind that idea was actually brewing a dream that I had, actually a real dream that I had, and that I wanted to be in the adult business. But I did not want to move to Los Angeles to have to do that. And so, so basically this is where it started, and now I'm here.
That's awesome. I want to touch on something that you mentioned that I think is a wonderful thing, that a family member helped introduce you to the lack of shame in sexuality. That's awesome. I think some of my listeners don't have that experience. So say a little more about that.
Well, the woman's name and my aunt, she's since passed. Her name is Robin, or was, or still is, Robin Ortiz Young, and she actually is doing some incredible work. She was working with the AIDS Health Project of the East Bay in San Francisco, UCSF, and I guess also teaching around diversity. And I guess being in that realm of information was, you couldn't help but get it on you, and to ensure that the people around you was informed. So
that's fantastic. That's just wonderful. That's the world that I wish all kids got to live in, as far as that lack of shame, the freedom to discover to who you are, to explore who you are sexually, and explore your gender. I just think that's fantastic, and I'm that's so wonderful that you got that wonderful groundwork for you.
Well, it was late groundwork, but I think just because it was in my home and she was who she was, I think, you can have information, but the person that being is sharing means that there's still going to be issues and problems. But I think, like you said, I wish kids would get that and someone in their home would be able to teach them in a positive way. But I think as the kids inside of us get to be an adult, we listen to people like you and podcasts to talk about and pick up ideas around sexuality that we weren't able to ask. So
did you get to Feelmore? How did you get to the store? How was that journey?
That journey was a long time. It was about 7 years between the idea and getting there because, quite frankly, just because, just as we said that kids don't have that in their household and some do, that they're able to nurture a part of them. I think also nurturing fearlessness and that imagination allows you to go farther in it. I think as an adult, if you don't have that, you can get intimidated by money, you can get intimidated by laws, where little kids just go out and set up a lemonade stand on the corner. And so this wasn't that lemonade stand, but I think I needed to have that lemonade stand mentality to do something that was so scary that I could fail. And when you do that, I think you're able to kind of love yourself in a different way. And basically, I just said, okay, I'm going to put my money down and this is what we're going to do. And a lot of people said no. And a lot of people, only one has to say yes, many will say no. And we just got the opportunity to open the store in downtown Oakland in a spot that wasn't happening. And, I'm very grateful for that because we got in early and we saw the groundwork and how it was growing. And it wasn't that we picked the area because it was growing. We just picked the area because this was the only person that would rent to us.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I love what you were talking about, being able to sit in the discomfort of knowing who you really are and knowing this is what you're supposed to be doing and then jumping in, having the lemonade stand mentality. Oh, that is good. I love that. And being able to, as a business owner, see this need and go, this is something that I believe in. This is something that I want, and I know that the community would benefit from. And so, talk a little bit about that trying to find a place and some of the legalities around trying to find a place to open an adult gallery.
Well, here's the thing. Oakland is known as Oaksterdam. And so I'm in the Oaksterdam area of the city. And now that the laws have changed, the whole city is Oaksterdam. But we're in the Oaksterdam area of the city. And where I was looking was basically an area where landlords were actually renting to pot companies because of the cash. And then some of them, because of the rules and regulations, they'd get found out by the cops, and the guys would be like, no, we're not going to rent to you, and you're a seedy business too, so we don't want to rent to you either. And so no one wanted to rent to us. And as an adult store or adult entertainment, you always have to look at these boundaries and restrictions that exist for our type of business. And cannabis didn't have it at that time. There was no regulation. It was a Wild West, but we had to have that. And so a lot of people, I think what it more so was, they didn't understand who I was. They didn't have any taste of who I was. And they're saying, okay, who's this person? And they want to do an adult business. That really doesn't work. And so I think that it took over time, which makes my stay here a little bit better now, is much better, is that people were able to see the vision that we had and able to say, okay, connect the dots. So now I'm sure that we could go anywhere in the city and people say, hey, there's a lineage of information. We get to see who you are, your character, before you open this type of business. So it took a lot. It took a lot.
Yeah, that building of relationships so they can see who you are and your intention for the community. And I think it is interesting that immediate assumption of seediness, because it's sexuality, that, oh, this is going to be a place that the other kind of person goes to, when in reality, we all do sex, every single one of us.
Well, when you're a brown person opening this type of business, because sex in brown communities tends to be around trauma, rape, crises. And if you're looking at other communities, it's always about inspiration. It's orgasm, like it's your body, you should experience it. Well, the conversations are different in our communities, and I'm from one of those communities. If you're a person of color or if you're a man opening a business, you're already automatically kind of dinged, because you're like, one, you're a man, you're going to be perverted, you're going to be, wanting something is going to be happening. And if you're a brown person, it's like, because people thought I was going to pimp kids out, like seriously, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a legal adult business and so on. So I'm glad that I'm glad that those ideas, people came back and actually apologized for those ideas, but it's also par for the course. When you're opening an adult store in an area, you got to be ready to fight because they're not going to give it.
Yeah. And I think that you bring up such an important conversation that maybe you and I will even do an entire episode on, aside from this, that from the Black person's perspective, what is it like to have to fight this fight on top of trying to fight the fight of opening an adult store?
Right. You're fighting the fight of your race and the perceptions around your race, but you're also fighting the perceptions of your race and the issues that come along with ownership, loaning money, getting a loan in the adult business. Who's going to, it's like in our families, we may have had someone who was a locksmith or a shoe store owner or clothing store owner, but not many people will have that lineage of, hey, my aunt had an adult store, and now I'm going to open up a adult store. It's like what we do in our family. And so it takes a lot of just pushing through and not, knowing that those characteristics and the perceptions and the stereotypes exist, but pushing through just like you're normal, like everybody else. But it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just so glad you're around and fighting this fight. It's just fantastic. So as far as the store itself, what do you guys offer? I saw some really cool things on the website, which we're gonna plug here in a minute. But I saw some really cool stuff. So what do you got going? Oh, she's showing me on FaceTime. I'm just so ecstatic just to even see it. It's beautiful, by the way, for my listeners. It has an incredible high ceiling, beautiful chandelier. It looks so high end and absolutely, I would go into that store. I would feel so comfortable. There wouldn't be, it's not dark. It's this, it looks like a luxury store.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I saw on your website that you offer these, you have these, what is it? Kind of vintage pornography and some vintage offerings.
Yeah. I like I'm from the 70s, and I think the 70s was a good time. I think the 70s was a good time. It's also a good time in sexuality, diversity, interracial relationships. I would say the civil rights movement, and the next thing was the Summer of Love, Woodstock in that time. And then I think after, during the Vietnam War, people coming home and just all the love that was happening in music was just an interesting time. And so I was connected to all of that. A lot of my parents, what they did was they did a lot of, what do you call it? Protesting. And so I was always at the protest with my parents, and those moments actually keep me connected to where it was, and the joy that not only that I saw with my own young eyes, but also the conversations I was privy to of what adults were talking about, and how they just appreciate it so much. And I find those kitsch items because people love it. I mean, people really, really enjoy going back to those moments where there was just so much love and innocence around it.
They have those positive memories that shaped their history. And just like you were saying, that those things, that fight that your parents showed you, even from a young age, that it seems that you've taken forward. You have a different passion, but it's still a fight, right? It's still that fight within yourself to sit in the discomfort because you're passionate about something. That's just awesome. And so as far as like toys and things like that, what do you typically carry?
We carry, our space is small. Our footprint is smaller than the normal store, but I would say it's probably bigger than a European store. So if you travel to Europe, this is a big store. I think that's also one of the things as business owners, you want to be like other people, and you can't be like other people. You just have to use the footprint that you have and work within those restraints. And so what we do is definitely bring in, we examine everything that comes in. We go to the shows, we look at the reviews, talk to our our distributors, and we basically bring in things that people really like, something that's connected to the magazine so they can have a conversation, but something that's also of the company that they're making quality products. It's not just about getting anal products because this is the thing to do. It's about getting a product from a company that can stand behind their work. And consistently, it's like going to a cobbler who's always dealing with shoes, and all of a sudden now he's dealing in shirts. You're going like, well, that one shirt really stands out. It just doesn't look right. So their workmanship and their craftsmanship and their dedication and care is not going to be the same. So kind of work with those type of companies.
Yeah, you're curating the experience for your customers, trying to create a space that not only feels safe so that they can explore these things, but also provide products that are not just necessarily popular, but the things that are actually going to work for them.
Exactly.
So do you get the customer that walks in that looks terrified? Hey everyone, I'm interrupting this interview because I wanted to let you know the sound quality changes at this point in the interview. And I kept this part because, first, Nina Joyner is a badass and has wonderful things to say, but the sound quality didn't turn out how we hoped towards the end of the interview. I just wanted to let you know that, and I hope that you'll stay tuned through to the end because she has wonderful things to say. Sorry about that. So keep listening, get all the info, see you at the end.
You know what? I think the one thing that terrifies a lot of people from coming in is that because it looks like an art gallery or a jewelry store on the outside. So they're like, I don't want to spend that kind of money. And then when they come in, they're like, oh, this is cool, And, but you do get those people who are terrified before they get to the door. That's more so. Once they get to the door, they're like, wow, this is incredible. It's just a space to be able to experience anything. I want to call it a big kid store. It's like a sex store for cool kids. It's not always about sex toys. And, our motto is it's more than just sex. We've had video games in here. Like I play my Atari in here. Like some of the customers come in here to do that because if you're going to normalize sex, you're going to have to normalize the other things around it as well.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that idea of being able to normalize sex and things around sex in people's general experience. So you come in to have some fun and play a video game, but there's also sex toys around, and then you get more comfortable with those things. That's fantastic. That's wonderful. So as far as how can people find you in the world, and also we were just talking about an article that you've got coming out here or has come out in, what is it, Leafy?
Yeah, so the Leafy, I think it's the Leafy article. Let me get it for you. It's basically, we were just talking, one of your questions was about how did I get here, and some of the issues that cannabis was causing for us in the beginning, and how that issue kind of, worked against us and worked in our favor. And now it's sex. Once, like we have all these zonings and restrictions now. What sex was for policy, cannabis is now for policy. Sex is now taking the stepchild. It's the child. It's the real child now is cannabis. And the stepchild is sex stores. Now, cannabis can go anywhere in the city, but, and it's really legal, and it's a federal offense. But now, as a sex store, I still got to sit within these restrictions of schools and churches that are closing now. You know what I'm saying? Like these churches are closing, schools are closing. And so with businesses moving so far and moving, how can you restrict us to just this archaic standard, as sex stores?
Right. Absolutely. I think that's an excellent point that it's still for marijuana and my future reference for my listeners, we're going to do a sex and marijuana episode. So Nina and I were talking about that a little bit before we started recording, that it's still a federal offense, but sex stores are having more problems getting the things they need than cannabis is. And that blows me away. Sex is something we all do, every single one of us, someday in our life.
Every day in our life. So, Oakland is going through a resurgence of strong marijuana in laws and legality. And so we're hoping that with what's going on a local level, we're still going to have a hard time as sex stores to be able to get out there and get the loans we need, or get the money to the bank, just like the weed. But weed is going to have a harder time. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and then, so what I'll do is I'll put Nenna's information in the show notes so that everyone can find her and find her store. So how can people find you in the world?
The article is on WikiLeaf.
Oh, WikiLeaf. Okay. Very good.
So it's called Sex and Cannabis, Breaking the Taboo with Nenna Joyner. So I'll send you that as well. But how you guys can find me is basically, I'm on Facebook. This is on Facebook at Feelmore 510. We're on Twitter at Feelmore 510, FELMORE 510. We're also on Instagram at Feelmore_AG, as in Adult Gallery. You can email us at info@Feelmore510. We're located in the Uptown District of downtown Oakland at 1703 Telegraph Avenue. In downtown Oakland. And you can also find us on the web at feelmore510.com. So we're everywhere we should be.
Feelmore510.com and Facebook, Instagram. I will make sure all of those places are in the show notes so that people can find you. And if you're ever in Oakland, can actually stop by and say hello. And I would love for my listeners to be able to come in and put a name with a face and be able to see the wonderful things and the wonderful thing you have built.
Thank you. I look forward to it. So make sure you guys shout out Erica when you come in.
Thanks for listening to my interview with Nenna Joyner. She is so fun to chat with. I'm so glad I got to share that with all of you. So if you'd like to get in contact with Nenna, or if you would like to get in contact with me, all of everything is going to be in the show notes, specifically Nenna's website, the feelmore510.com. Check that out. It's got a ton of information on it and definitely worthwhile to check out. You can get in contact with me at erica@ericamiley.com or ericamiley.com. I would love to have you either as a future client if you're in Washington State, or I would love to answer questions if you got them. Please feel free anytime you need. Also, please jump on and subscribe and rate and review. That would be really, really helpful. As many numbers as we can get so that we can reach as many people as we can. Have a little fun, learn a little something. I hope everybody has a wonderful week. See you later.